What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Big O back in the building with yet another brand new video. Just want to take a second to say thank you to everyone who's tuning in, and I hope all of you are having a glorious day. In today's video, I want to get back into the series that I did start some time ago about the essentials of the turtle keeping hobby, which there's a playlist, so if you want to catch up on all the other videos, definitely go check that out. But in the original video, I outlined the 5 basic essentials that, in my opinion, you just cannot go without when you're keeping aquatic turtles in captivity. And those 5 essentials are filtration, heating, lighting, basking, and what I'm going to talk about in today's video, enclosure. Now, in the turtle keeping hobby, you'll mainly, generally speaking, see 2 types of enclosures. Your first is what we're looking at right now, which is your typical glass aquarium. And your second is your plastic totes. Getting right into it. Your glass aquariums are gonna, first of all, it's gonna offer you the highest viewership of the animal. It's essentially just a glass box. Excuse me. Keeping aquatics, one of the main joys that you're gonna get out of it is actually just watching the animal. And again, keeping it in a glass box is gonna offer you the most opportunity to do so. And also, I would imagine it's really one of the first things that you're going to think of when you imagine keeping an aquatic animal as a pet, is in a glass aquarium, right? And also, the availability. You can get these things nowadays anywhere. Your pet stores, your pet suppliers, they have the Petco $ per gallon sale. And of course, there's Craigslist and OfferUp and things like that. And there really has never been more of an opportunity to get your hands on one of these things and really get one at a very good price. I've definitely bought aquariums on Craigslist. As a matter of fact, this particular 55 gallon with the stand, I bought on Craigslist some time ago for like 70 bucks, which was a super steal because I've had it for years, and here it is, still going strong, and it still looks pretty good. But, as I said, there are so many different places to go looking for one of these now. It really is very easy to get your hands on them. Now, getting into the cons, firstly, if you do buy the new and you're getting one, upwards of, I guess, really anything bigger than a 55 gallon, they can become very expensive. And if you're moving it by yourself, you might have some difficulty because they can be very, very heavy. And back to the fact that it's just a glass box, you have to be very, very careful while you're moving it, because we all know how easy glass is to break. So, these are just some things to consider when you're trying to make a decision. And depending on what your particular situation is, it might make or break which direction you go in. So your other choices are, of course, these plastic totes. They come in many different shapes, sizes, and colors. These particular 3 happen to all three of them are opaque. Main differences are the way the lid goes on. This has sort of a latch. There's one of these latches on the other side as well. This has sort of this interlocking folding lid. And this one is just kind of a snap-on kind of lid. Out of these particular 3, I would say that this one is the toughest one and the one I would trust the most to hold water. But what I like more out of all of these 3 is actually these plastic toes. They're a lot thicker, a lot stronger. If I can look down here and look at the label. So it's the HDX Tough Tote. This is a 27 gallon. But they do come in different sizes. There are ones that are bigger than this. I do think there are ones that are smaller as well, but I got this particular one at Home Depot. These are the ones that have the yellow lids on them. They're very tough, they're very thick, and out of all the plastic totes that I own, I would trust these the most to hold water. I actually have about 3 or 4 more of these sort of ready to go on my balcony. And you know, other than the fact that you can't watch the animals as much as the glass tank, there aren't really many advantages that a glass aquarium has over this. One thing, well, a couple of things that you want to look out for is, if you're using one of these, and this is only 27 gallon, but if you have one that's larger and you want to say, maybe you want to filter it with a canister filter, you want to pay attention to the sides. They're a lot wider than, say, the rim of an aquarium, which is where, if you look back here, is how you're gonna attach the hoses of the canister filter. If you look sort of down here, there's a bracket that holds the hose in place, and it might be too wide here for the bracket to fit properly, so that's something you want to consider. If we look on my AquaClear 110, it seems wide enough here so that like it'll fit directly on to the plastic tote. I'm not exactly sure, but it's something that you want to look out for before you start buying equipment and things like that, because you know you don't want to come home and find out that the filter doesn't fit properly, and maybe you might have to DIY something, or maybe you might have to return it and get something else. So, you know, things to think about. But another thing you want to think about is even though these are very tough and they are very thick, they are not being designed with the idea of holding water, okay? So there may come a time where this thing might spring a leak. I did have a plastic tote that it wasn't the same as this, but it was very similar. It was very tough, it was very thick, and I did use it to house some turtles, and after months of using it, it did spring a small leak. Just so happens that the room that it was in had carpet, and it was a complete disaster. So if it happened to me, I'm pretty sure it has happened to others. So again, it's just things that you want to look out for. Now, other than all the things that I've already spoken about in regards to the two different types of enclosures, really the main thing you want to consider, regardless of what sort of enclosure you're going to use, is what kind of turtle you're going to put in there, how big is it going to get in its adult size, and is that enclosure going to accommodate that adult size. So, you know, more simply put is make sure you're not putting your turtles in a super cramped environment, you know. Let's take this guy, for example, who's so stuffed to the gills right now because I just fed them, but he's not even moving. But that's a whole nother story. He's almost fully grown. I would imagine that if anything, he'll probably grow another inch or so, right? So that'll make him, I don't know, 6.5 inches at his adult size. And he's in a 55-gallon tank. It's about 4 feet long. It's about a foot, I guess, wide. And I don't know, maybe almost 2 feet tall. I'd imagine he'd be fine in here for the rest of his life, but again, there are plans to eventually upgrade him to at least a 75. So you can go as big as you want, and in many cases bigger is better, but whatever it is that you want to do, the only thing that you definitely want to avoid is keeping your turtle in something that's just too small. You want to consider the activity level and just, you know, the natural behavior of the animal as well when you're picking out an enclosure. But for the most part, you definitely want to give them enough room to kind of just do their thing. You know, you don't want to keep an active animal such as this guy in something that's too small. It's just not a good look. You know, we want to make sure our animals are as happy as possible. But again, there are other choices. It's not just aquariums and plastic totes. I'm just covering the two most popular choices that your average turtle keeper is going to go with. You definitely have your stock tanks out there. You know, you have plastic stock tanks. You have, galvanized metal stock tanks. You have preformed ponds. You can even just sort of build a frame out of like 2x4s and wood and lumber and get some pond liner and make your own ponds. But I'm going to save that for a whole nother video. Questions, comments, concerns, definitely leave them down in the comment section. Definitely leave that thumbs up. If you're digging the content, consider subscribing. If you subscribe, definitely hit the notification bell. And until the next time, happy reptile keeping. Peace.